Fellow auto detailers, welcome to the show that features interviews with today's most successful auto detailers. This is the Auto Detailing Podcast. Here's your host, Jimbo Balaam.
Today, guys, I'm excited to share with you something that has completely transformed the way I do business, and that is my new best friend. It's a customer relationship management software, or CRM for short, by the Better Software Company, or for short, B Pro. B Pro is the #1 all-inclusive small business management solution. Customer revenue is the lifeblood of any small business. We've talked about that a lot on the show, and that's why B Pro comes with a variety of features to help you boost your business, including email marketing. Anyone want to do that? How about lead generation? We talked a lot about that at the Detailer Marketing Bootcamp. Opportunity management. How about all those quotes that you give out? How about following up on those? B Pro will even remind you when a customer is likely ready to buy from you again. How about that? So a customer comes in for a detail. Hey, maybe in a few months, the software reminds you to follow up with that customer. Imagine that. B Pro has everything you need to run your auto detailing business in one easy-to-use solution. From customer management, invoicing, inventory, for you guys that have a shop that sell products and detail cars, orders, scheduling, timesheets, all on one platform. B Pro has you covered. Only B Pro offers the same functionality on your smartphone as on your laptop. So imagine that. You're out on the road, you're out in the field, you're at your shop, wherever you are, everything's in the cloud. So it's all the same no matter where you are. Get started today by going to thebettersoftwarecompany.com. That's thebettersoftwarecompany.com. Tell them you heard about them from Jimbo on the Auto Detailing Podcast. It'll make them happy. You'll get the special treatment. All right, welcome to episode 246 of the Auto Detailing Podcast. I'm Jimbo, your host, and today I'm so ecstatic. We got Barry Theal on the show with us. Barry, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Jim. I appreciate that.
And I'm excited because I think we're going to have an episode that's just fire. I'm excited. So before we get into some juicy stuff, why don't you give us a little background on you, how you got into detailing, and then bring it into what you got going on today.
Well, let's see here. I actually started detailing when I was about 15 years old, back in 1993. My first job was I worked for a high-volume detail shop. And we did, at the time, we were doing maybe 120 to 130 cars a week, full reconditionings. And my very first job there was, I'll never forget it. They gave me some sandpaper, and they said, you're going to sand, at the time they called it color sanding, you're going to color sand and buff all the fresh paint that comes in from all the cars at the body shop. So at that time, all I did... yeah, it was like hardly any training. You know, I was burning paint, having fun, but that was the way we learned back then. You know, you learn from your mistakes. We didn't have the help of the internet and all that stuff that everybody has today. So it was interesting. You know, so I would get one car with one panel, and I would get, you know, the next car I get would have 3 panels or 5 panels. I never knew what I was getting. All I knew was I had to wet sand that panel, and just all I had to do was just get my wet sand marks out, and then somebody finished the paint after me. So it wasn't bad. You know, I didn't have like the worries of finishing paint perfect. I just had to wet sand it and get all that stuff out that I put in, which is pretty cool. And then later that transitioned into, you know, that was a part-time gig at night. And then I was doing that, and then I got into caddying a little bit in the summer. Then eventually I went to the Army, got out of the Army, and I was lost. I didn't know what to do in life, and I thought I'm going to take a year off and try to figure it out. So I took that year off, and about 3 weeks into it, I got bored, went back to the same owner of that high-volume shop and said, hey, I'm looking for work. He said, you know, Barry, I'd love to have you back. I started detailing cars then. He put me... You know, I was buffing cars, and I started degreasing, and then I started doing interiors, and then I was like a final out detailer, and then I was, you know, at the time pinstripes were real popular, so I was doing pinstripes and touch up. And then we got into like alloy wheel repair and things like that. And I learned a bunch of little things. Essentially traveled on to a couple different shops over the time. Then I got stuck in a dealership where I was like, the dealership had about 6 employees. It was just me at the time. And what they would do, the other 6 employees, they would like do the normal work. And then I was the guy that I had my own bay. And what they did was they gave me all the cars that needed a lot of attention. And I got to spend my time on them. That lasted up until about 2010. So in 2010, I started a company called Presidential Details, which was existing in 2007, but from 2007 to 2010, roughly, I was doing it part-time. And then in 2010, I went full-time on my own, and since then, Presidential Details has grown into a rather large company. Now we detail about 60 to 80 cars a week for local dealers, things like that. We do a little bit of retail work. It's a little bit of everything. And then through the Presidential Details, there's about 8 or 9 employees. Just recently, I started a second location called Detailosity, which that's going to it's been specializing in like your higher end jobs. And what I mean by higher end, not really a high dollar car, but a higher end job as in more of spending more time on the car, where we can spend 15, 20, 30 hours on one car, doing clear brawl, paint coatings, heavy correction jobs, concours preparations, things like that. And then back in 2014, 13, I actually started in my own brand after years of working with other companies and giving suggestions and things like that. I started a company called Americana Car Care, which later we found an investor, brought them in, and we now call it Americana Global. So, yeah, I'm a pretty busy guy, if that means anything.
It does. And what's so fascinating to me is you have so many corners of the industry covered. You've got the more of a production shop, which people hate on, but you're obviously profitable with that. But then you also have the higher dollar work or higher end, like you said, more time invasive work of a coating and correction shop and a product company. So it's like there's so much value you could bring to the industry. So I think that's amazing. You have so much insight to share with everyone.
Thank you.
And let's just get right into it. What do you think about internet detailers?
Man, that's a touchy subject, Jim. You got me right away.
Well, we talked about it a little bit, and you said, "Oh man, I can get really controversial." And I'm like, let's
came out swinging right away. Let's do it. Which is awesome. I think. Okay, let me define what I think an internet detailer is first. So there's no controversy. So there's nobody saying, "Oh, well, I'm an internet detailer," or they think, I'm saying this in a negative way because I'm not. To me, an internet detailer is somebody who they were at one point a car enthusiast or an everyday guy. They had no real world experience of detailing. They never worked for somebody else. They were never shown how to detail a car, whether it was proper or improper. They were just never taught how to physically detail a car. So it's, I picture a guy who, bought a new car, loves to detail, loves to maintain his car, clean it, I picture him out there waxing it, and eventually, he gets scratches or he gets a swirl or he wants to learn how to wash a car. So he hops on the internet, and we all know how the internet is. You've got Facebook, you've got forums, you've got groups. Everybody has their own clique, or whatever the case may be, which can be good and bad. I think it can be very positive, but yet it could be also very negative. So you have this guy who eventually hops on the forums, types whatever, how to clean my car, or how to clean a wheel, or how to polish paint. So this guy is reading, and eventually he finds a place to buy some products from. He buys these products, and then he starts detailing. And in today's world, we'll be honest, you can get pretty decent results with the proper tools and the things that are readily available to everybody these days. But at the end of the day, he has no real-world experience. He was never out in a shop working in a fast-paced atmosphere where time is money. He's that guy that just enjoys detailing at the end of the day. So one of the things I've noticed is over the years, when you get into like large throw machines, I'll use Rufus as an example. Rufus is a company that they really changed the way people detail cars. More power to them. They're a phenomenal company with a lot of innovation. But what took me 10 years to learn how to master a rotary, you can get the same results with a Rufus, just a little bit slower, if that makes sense.
It does.
So this guy, whoever he is, he goes out and buys like a Rufus, or, a dual action polisher. He buys a couple polishes and a few pads, maybe a clay bar. He already has the soap and shit, and he starts detailing, and he gets decent results. Next thing you know, he's feeling confident. He's feeling good. He does a couple neighbors' cars. And it turns into, hey, I got a little side gig going, I'm making a couple $100 a week hustling cars. Then, now all of a sudden he's an expert, and he's hopping online, and he's telling other people how to detail cars. I've seen it hundreds of times, and then you find out this guy's been, detailing for 6 months, and he's probably detailed maybe 15 cars in his life, and all of a sudden he's a professional detailer. He buys a coating, works his way in, and some coating company out there says, "Hey, we'll make you an authorized installer." Now he's got the machine, he's got the equipment, and he's got the power of a coating company backing him up. The coating company's telling him, "Hey, you're a great detailer. You ought to use our brand. We could really use you." They're hyping him up so they can get the sale. Obviously, that's what they want. So now you have a guy that he's detailing for a year. He's got a coating. He's using this coating. He's marketing himself. He built himself a little website, and he thinks he's the best detailer in the world. But at the end of the day, he really doesn't know anything about detailing. He just knows how to polish paint. But he forgot to figure out, hey, how do I clean an interior properly and effectively to make money? What's the right chemical? Why should I use like a regular wheel cleaner or a safe wheel cleaner versus an acidic-based wheel cleaner? People beat up acidic-based wheel cleaners when they really do work if you know how to use them.
They work really well, especially if you're looking
really
at the same
well.
time.
It's the guy because he doesn't want to use them because somebody said, hey, those are bad, because they had a bad experience with them. And then it travels throughout the internet, and to me that could be a negative thing, because you have a guy out there who's detailing cars who thinks he's really good at what he does, but yet at the end of the day has hardly any experience at all. If you detailed 20 cars, I don't think you've been around long enough to actually know what you're doing or what you're saying. And I may offend some people with that quote, but I'm all right with that.
It's okay.
I really am. I don't mean that negatively, but at the end of the day, it takes a lot more than 10 or 15 or 20 cars to consider yourself an experienced professional, if that makes sense.
For sure.
I mean, you can call yourself professional because you're making money, but to be an experienced professional is two separate things.
Definitely.
But then on the other end, I've seen guys who were that internet detailer who have opened up, and they've learned a lot. Just last night I was talking to a guy he's a successful detailer, very successful detailer. He's doing well. I'll leave his name out, obviously. He specializes in high-end coatings, and paint correction. He does interiors, well-known detailer. Honestly, I very rarely talk to the guy. He calls me last night and says, hey, I got this dealership account. possibly, talking to me. And he's like, I know you do a lot of dealership work. I said, yeah. So we started talking, and, I came back to the whole internet detailer thing. I said to him, I was like, look, man, at the end of the day, you're an internet detailer. I was like, don't take this the wrong way, but you're successful at it. But you've really never learned how to operate a business. You've never seen what it's like to have somebody teach you how to greet a customer, how to walk around the car, look at the negatives, the positives of the car, how to talk to them and say, okay, listen, your car's in great shape, but these are some of the things that are wrong that I can help. How to how to bill for that car, how to bill right for that car. Everybody, to me, they're so focused on paint correction, they forget all the other options out there that leave money on the table. They see guys who are showing befores and afters of paint. It's always about paint in our industry. But, I said to the guy, last night, I said, find me a detailer who can detail a car without dressing anything on the car, And he said, why? And I said, well, think about it. That's how you know a car's clean. Dressing hides, it masks.
Yep.
It masks dirt. We all know that,
Yep.
It takes a tire that could be brown and make it shiny, glossy, and black. Whether you like a matte finish or a gloss finish, but find me somebody who knows how to clean a car first. Find me somebody who knows how to clean leather effectively and efficiently. He was telling me, it was ironic because he said, if I'm spending 4 hours on a seat, and I'm thinking in the back of my mind, why are you spending 4 hours on a seat? It's that dirty that takes you 4 hours to clean at the end of the day. He's like, well, some stuff's bad. And I said, yeah, but if you were properly taught, experienced by somebody else who knows what they're doing, who's been in the game long enough, it shouldn't take you that long to clean a seat.
Right.
I said, I'd be mad if I spent more than 20 minutes on a seat, on an everyday car, everyday leather seat, obviously if you're getting into a concours car where you're ripping the seat out, you're cleaning underneath and stuff, and you're getting paid to do that, that's a different story. But I'm just talking an everyday general cleanup. You get swirls out, you clean it up, you polish the paint, you wax it, coat it, whatever. The interior's been driven 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 miles, it's dirty. A seat like that should not take you 4 hours. We started talking, and I said, you're an internet detailer. And it was so ironic that you asked me this question because of that conversation last night. And at the end of the day, he never really had somebody show him. He's never learned, how do I say it? Like, I always made my mistakes on somebody else's dollar.
Right. Okay.
And I hate to say that, but it's true. It's absolutely true. The days I burned paint with a rotary because I pushed it too far, that was on somebody else's dollar. The day I scrubbed the seat too hard and had the leather dye transfer, that was on somebody else's dollar when I was working for somebody else. It sucks, but it's a part of business. But at the end of the day, that's how I learned. I learned from my mistakes.
It's almost the best. That's almost the best way to learn, though, but it's also the hardest way to learn, because you have to mess it up to really get it.
Yeah, and that's true. It's very true. And I mean, for me, I'm not a smart man. I have a high school education. I was born with dyslexia. I struggled with alcoholism for about 9 years of my life. I made a lot of dumb decisions, and I'm not educated. Detailing was one of those things that somebody taught me how to do, and I fell in love with. I was never really a car guy per se. I fell in love with polishing paint, cleaning interiors, pressure washing, and watching all the dirt come off a car and thinking, wow, a car's clean, but it's not really clean because we didn't clear the paint, just little things like that I fell in love with. And I think today that's what makes me the detailer I am, because it's the passion for the industry, not the passion for the car, if that makes sense.
It does. That's actually an interesting statement because I find myself, the reason I got into the industry was similar. I wasn't like a real gnarly gearhead, or, necessarily love muscle cars or have a fascination with them, but I more so enjoyed a clean car, and I kind of entered the detail industry through that avenue. And sometimes I feel not like an outcast, but I feel off because I'm not a sold out. I mean, I'm a car guy, but I'm not like a sold out car guy, but I just really enjoy clean cars regardless of what they are. Does that make sense? And it
Correct.
sounds like you're similar.
Yeah, and I am. And it's funny because I never really cleaned cars before I got into detailing. You know what I mean? For me, it was just a job that ended up into a career. And it's funny because I love to tell people I wash cars because they look at me like,
yeah, I say I'm a lot. Cars. I say I'm a lot boy.
Yeah, yeah, and to me, it's detailing. There's so many different aspects. 100%. You have a dealership detailer, you have a car wash guy, you have the perfection elitist detailer, and then you have the select few who are paid to do heavy concourse jobs where they're pulling cars apart to do those things. And the problem with our industry, I think, is everybody wants to be a good detailer, but they forget how to make money.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Yes. Thank you.
Everybody,
beating that drum for a long time.
Yeah, for me, I think that how do I say this? And I don't say this to upset anybody because there's roles for everybody in the industry. There's enough cars to go around. But everybody sees these high-end guys, these incredible talented detailers showing paint correction shots, and that's the guy they want to be. And when I got into the internet world, there were a few of them guys who stood out to me that I wanted to be that guy. I had the talent, I had the skills. All I had to do was learn how to market myself like they did online, and that was the easy part. Back in the time in 2010. But the more I did that, the more I realized, and this is before coatings got real popular. Where what I like to call we were slaving over paint for 10 to 12 hours a day and making $400 or $500. It was great because I would turn out a fantastic car and put my heart and soul into that car. I would take hundreds of pictures and befores and afters. And, today I question myself. I'm thinking, did I really do that for the business, or did I do that because I wanted my peers to accept me, to think I was cool, to think I was a good guy? And that, it has its goods and its bads. For me, it was great. There's no doubt about it. The brand Barry Theal or Presidential Details got really popular. I was successful. I've had, I have customers literally all over the country from different states that were shipping me cars. And I was spending all this time on these cars and my name got built, I even had companies that endorsed me. I had a wax named after my company, which I believe I was probably the first one in the United States to have that done.
That's legit.
Yeah, and most people don't know that. It's one of those things. If you can forgive me here, I'm smoking a cigar. It's the after hours. I'm talking to you.
You're good.
This is the real Barry Theal. People wanted it. Here it is.
This is awesome.
I love a good acid cigar. That's the brand. But
I love it.
Long story short, I fell into this marketing and media hype. But when I broke it down,
what year was this? Or back in 2010?
I'd say about 2010, 2011.
Okay.
In that era.
Yeah.
I fell into all this marketing hype, and I was trying to be that cool guy, that elitist, and I did pretty successful at it. I made it happen. At the end of the day, there's so many stories I can go on and on and on. But I'd have companies call me and pay me to say, hey, can you use our products on one of your write-ups? And
So
I'd
you're
say,
mainly
sure,
doing,
why?
were you doing forum stuff or like on blog?
Yeah, like on the forums,
Okay.
forums at the time. This is before Facebook got popular.
Yeah.
And I'd have these companies call me and say, hey, just take a picture with our wax or use our compound and, we'll cut you a check. I had one company cut me a check for $3,500 at the time just to promote their polish. And I was laughing about this to this day, and I have no problems. I'm not going to mention the company's name,
Sure.
but I have no problems now laughing at this company, because if these detailers knew how arrogant many of these detailing companies are and how persuasive they can be, it's unbelievable. I fell into that hype, and to me that was a bad hype for me to fall into, because what happened was I got so wrapped up in that whole elitist, that whole, hey, look at me, I'm cool. I got all these product companies want me to push their stuff. But what it never taught me was I never learned how to run a business at the end of the day. And, I made a couple bucks, but, I was just a detailer who was, pretty good at what he did, obviously. I've had some marketing, I've had companies, ask me for advice, opinions, and things like that. But when it boiled down to it, I opened a business to make money. That's the bottom line.
Right.
I love what I do. I'm successful at what I do. And I'm pretty good at what I do, But at the end of the day, I provide a service. That service is what feeds families. It feeds their kids. It feeds my family. It feeds my kids. And none of these companies will tell you, hey, let me tell you how to run a business.
Right.
They'll use you to get ahead. And then you're out. That's it. Once you did what you did, you're gone. It's that simple. There's no way around it, and you look back on it, many of us know who these guys are that are out there. 1 week they're posting this product, the next week they're posting this product, the next week they're posting this product. And I'm thinking, okay, either this guy's really stupid and he can't find a product to like, or he's getting paid to market these products, One of the guys that I admire most in this business is Mike Phillips. And the reason I admire Mike is because he has one statement that I absolutely love. He says, find what you like and use it often.
Yep.
And it's so powerful because, there's a lot of product whore guys out there.
Yes.
And I'm sorry if I say that.
Nope.
I apologize if I offend
okay.
anybody. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of product whores. And I was one of them. There's no doubt about it. But Mike...
And it's hard not to be, kind of, especially if you spend any time on the internet looking at internet detailers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so hard not to be that guy. But you look at a guy like Mike Phillips, who he worked for McGuire's. Mike is an exceptional person to talk to. He's extremely knowledgeable. He knows everybody. He's been in the game a long time. He's legit, But at the end of the day, he works for a company now that carries every brand.
Right.
So,
it's a very hard line to walk. That it's where he's at.
Yeah.
That's a delicate balancing act constantly.
Yeah, I love him. I don't know. I couldn't do his job. There's no way. I could do the publicity and say, hi, how are you? But I would lose my mind answering all the questions about every single product that Mike does and what he does.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do that. Mike's a phenomenal guy, I've talked to him numerous times, had great conversations with him, and I couldn't say anything bad about the guy. He's an absolute incredible guy, but at the end of the day, I couldn't do his job. I couldn't tell you why compound A is better than compound B, C, D, E, and F, and G, and H, and I, and so on, And that's what I like about Mike is he always said, find something you like and use it often.
Yeah.
That's a powerful statement because once you know how it works, you're going to go to it. That's going to be your go-to product. And that's going to make you a better detailer because you're understanding how things work now with that product. There's always going to be another new compound. There's always going to be another new polish, but if it ain't broken, don't fix it. You see what I'm getting at?
So that leads me to an interesting question, though. So if you started your own product company, did you feel, could you not find that product that you liked to stick with it, or did you find a gap, or were you looking for something that wasn't out there?
Do you know what it really was for a few years of my career, I was working with a major manufacturer of products. And it got to the point where I wasn't, believe it or not, I never took a check from this company. I was just helping them out, became friends with the owner, and I was doing trade shows like SEMA and things like that. I was helping them develop products behind the scenes. I was working with them, giving them opinions and feedback and, all the stuff that's involved.
Yeah.
And it was fun, man. I absolutely loved it. I really did. But over the years, it boiled down to, okay, I was offered a job. Hey, let's, come work for me. Sadly, we couldn't come to a salary negotiation. That's exactly what it boiled down to. And I thought to myself, do you know what? I don't feel right after this. So I personally said, hey, I'm done. I'm not going to market your products anymore, which to this day I still believe in their products. I still think they're fantastic products, because a lot of the products I was involved with, but it came down to it just didn't feel right, so I was lost. I had about 3 weeks of not working with products, not helping make products, not pushing products like online saying, whatever. So I essentially got bored and I thought, you know what, let's start a brand. So I did. I started Americana Car Care.
Got it.
For those who know me, I'm a big history buff. I love the United States. I believe that it's a country that you have so many choices and so many options and so many freedoms if you just get off your ass and do it. And I'm one of them guys that did it. Very thankful for what we have. So when you look at the names that I've come up with over the years, Presidential Details, Americana Car Care, it's all things related to the U.S. and the tradition of hard work and value and putting that through. So long story short, I came up with Americana Car Care, and it was a humbling experience. Before I had, I was working with chemists. I wasn't looking for a chemist. I was working with these guys, and everything was already set. Here I was, some young guy from, well, not young. I mean, I was mid-30s, but I was some guy that knew how to detail cars really well and helped all these companies, thinking I'm gonna make it. Screw all the hype. I'm gonna do this, and then you realize, hey, wait. Not every chemist is the same, How do I work with this guy? How do I work with this guy? I had a few great products. There's no doubt about it. But then I had a few horrible products as well, So again, it's a live and learn experience, and that's how I took it. And then it boiled down to the products we're selling, and we called interest from somebody, an investor, and they contacted me. And he's not a detailer. He looked at the company and said, hey, how are you making money? And I said, well, I got this. This is it going on. And he goes, but how are you making real money? All of a sudden, this guy caught my eye. Okay, well, let's sit down and talk. You know what I mean?
Heck yeah.
What I think is really good money and what you think is real money are two completely different things.
Right.
So, and, for me, what I think is good money is probably better than most.
Right.
So he caught my eye. He says, well, listen, here's where you're failing. This is what you're doing wrong. And I'm telling you this from an outsider. He says, okay, he goes, so tell me about the business. I told him all this stuff, some internal stuff. And he says, all right, well, here's what I want to do. I want to help you build a brand. He goes, I've got the network. I've got everything in place, but we need the products right. And so I said, all right, well, listen, I'm open for whatever, So he says, let's throw everything away and start fresh.
Wow.
I'm thinking, you're kidding me, right?
Right.
I got some good products, and so again, there comes that humble factor. Let's throw everything away, So I was devastated, but at the same time, I thought, dude, what do I have to lose? It's still a young company. It's nothing crazy. So he said, this is what you do. Start with a compound and polish. Remake them. We're going to redesign bottles, redesign labels. We're going to do everything the way it should be done. I said, all right, perfect. So, we contacted a bottle guy, a label guy, and, had this, and what I think are pretty nice labels. They're marketable labels, made up for a compound and a polish. And so then I had to find a compound and polish. So I started working again with all these companies, going through all these headaches again. And today we're pretty successful. We narrowed it down to a compound and a polish. We want to keep it easy and simple for the detailer, And I know that you're not going to take my product and it's going to be the only product you use. I know that for a fact. Because even me, today, I have the brand, but it's still not the only product I use because different paints are different, pads, rotation, speeds, things like that. My goal is to be a product on your shelf at the end of the day.
Love that.
If that makes sense.
It does.
I want to be on your shelf and have the opportunity to help you make money. That's what I want. And I've been successful with that, sticking with that motto. And then once the compounds and polishes, I said to him, listen, I think there's a need for a pad in the market. I said, I have this idea that's been going through my mind for 2 years. I want to put it together. I said, can I get some money? And he said, sure, let's do it. Let's run with it. So contacted a couple pad manufacturers here in the United States, obviously. Everything we do is made in the United States, which I'm proud of, extremely proud of. And I said, listen, here's some ideas. Here's some things I want to do. And they, a couple of them said, hey, I think you're a little nuts. That's not what the market demands. And I said, yeah, you're right, but I want to create these pads. So I did. I came out with what I called the EFC pads, which are an exact fit compression pad, which I can go into details forever about, but I'm not going to. And these pads started selling little by little. I never promote the products. I never promote the brand. You'll never see me show my own products anymore because I did so much showing for other companies. When I got this brand started, I did not want to be that guy.
You didn't want to be
I've made a couple small videos. Yeah, I've made a couple videos. I've, a couple pictures, but never do I push it. You're not going to catch me on YouTube telling you how to use my pad 50 different ways. You might see one video, but not 50 different ways. You're not going to catch me. I'm not going to be the guy on your phone when you log into Facebook that says Americana Car Care posted in this group, this group, this group, this group, and I fill up your whole feed.
It's so annoying.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely annoying, and it's some of the reasons why I left some of the groups because I don't need to see the same thing 500 times.
I think
so
it actually
I'm not going to be that guy.
I mean, that's a side note, but I think that actually does a disservice to the content or whatever that person's trying to promote by posting it in 10 different groups. Anyway, side note.
Yeah. No, but listen, I believe you, and I'm firm about that. It's the annoyance things, and I said I'm not going to be that guy. So, we started, just using the pads, started selling the pads. Now we're selling a lot of pads, a whole lot of pads. It's kind of funny, because I see these guys using these pads, and I see these orders come in, and in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there thinking, it's a pretty cool feeling, because I designed that pad.
Right.
Nobody helped me, nothing,
wow.
And it was a dream, and I couldn't have done it without the financial backing helper,
Right.
with the help of another company who manufactures our pads. There was so many people involved with it, but when you see these guys using these pads and they're making money, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, that's awesome. I've helped that guy make money. But
Right.
yet, at the same time, I've helped him see money because these pads are lasting forever, which really sucks for me because I don't make as much money as I should. But at the end of the day, it's a durable pad that holds up, which I'm ecstatic about.
So what is it about the pad? What is it about the pad that makes it hold up so well? Because as I told you before we started recording, and I wasn't meaning for this to be a total sales pitch for your company, but I'm not opposed.
No.
But I'm not opposed to that either. But I felt it's the orange pad that you offer, and I believe it's your cutting pad, but it is a little bit softer. But what is it about your pad that, because the guy using it even was like, oh my gosh, this thing lasts forever. This is amazing. You got to try one. That's what he was telling me. So what is it about your pad that, obviously you don't have to give away the secrets, but why does it last so long?
There are no secrets. There are no secrets, okay? What it boils down to is a set of balls, ideally. There are no secrets. There was nothing crazy about the pad. Anybody can look at that pad and remake that pad in 5 minutes. It's a fact. And I'm waiting for somebody to do it, because that, to me, is the highest honor I can get when somebody knocks off my idea.
Yep.
So I'm waiting for somebody to do it. I hope they do. I'll feel better about myself, because that means I created something that somebody else wanted.
Yep.
But realistically, okay, it goes back to the volume shop that I have. With the change of Rufus, and these large throw machines. It was easier for me to bring a guy in and say, here's a Rufus. And what normally would take me 2 weeks or 3 weeks to train a guy was now taking me 2 days.
Wow.
And the guy was more efficient and faster. So the volume shop changed because of Rufus as well. On a production standpoint, we got faster, we got better results. But the issue was, with the large throw machine, those machines eat pads at the end of the day. They eat them. Every company goes through it. All the manufacturers go through it. Well, I was using a certain brand of microfibers, okay? What we were finding was, when we were going through these pads, within, it could have been one car, it could have been 2 cars. We never got 4 or 5 cars out of this in a volume setting. What would happen was, if you crank that machine up, it would literally, the heat transfer between the backing plate and the paint, the inside of the pad disintegrated. It wasn't the glue. It wasn't, the microfiber material. It was literally the foam, because there was no way for heat to disperse itself. And that's what I was finding. So I thought to myself, okay, first problem is heat. Truthfully, okay, I'm not going to change the machine, because Roots kicked ass, and they developed a machine that changed the entire industry, and that machine's here to stay. So I'm not changing machines. There's no way about it. I'm not even thinking of doing that. I'd be a fool to. That machine makes me money. But I thought, okay, well, there's got to be a solution to that machine. Okay, how do I figure it out? So first thing I worked on was heat. Okay, I thought to myself, how can we disperse the heat? And I'm not a scientist. There's no, I never sent these pads off to be tested. None of that stuff, I just thought, hey, it's an idea. Let's try it. So I thought, okay, when I'm sanding cars, sanding paint, which is actually what we're doing, just with finer liquids, buffing liquids and pads.
Right.
Okay, we're now using dual action movements. This is what sanders use. Okay, I looked at 3M, and I looked at an interface pad, and I thought to myself, why does that interface pad have holes? Okay, well, those holes are there to...
Right.
Those holes are there to eliminate dust, okay, to help with dust, so dust can escape, which helps prevent pigtails. And that's when I thought, okay, maybe that will help cool the pad. So we tried it. So I looked at the Rufus backing plate, and literally, if you take one of my pads and put it to their backing plate, okay, the edge lines up the whole perfect, like a sanding disc, 6 inches to 6 inches. And then we literally took the hole design of Rufus backing plates and put the same exact hole design on the pads. So between the 6-inch pad and the 5-inch pad, the holes are different. The reason they're different is because Rufus made the backing plate different with the holes. So I looked at it that way and thought, well, if I'm using Rufus, I'm going to design these pads for my shop. If people like them and they buy them, great, more power to them. I wanted something that'll hold up. So long story short, that's what I did, which I thought was awesome. And it worked. So now we had a pad that had virtually no heat. The heat had a chance to escape. So the inside of the foam pad was not melting anymore. See where I'm going with that? So which was unbelievable. It was so simple that it worked. You know, it boils back to that phrase, you know, the KISS phrase, keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
You know, that's kind of what I did. Then the next issue that I found was, okay, with a Rufus machine, when you're looking at this machine and you have the pads, which, okay, like let's say the backing plate's 6 inches and a pad is 6.5 inches. Okay, the surface of the pad that's touching the paint, okay? These pads are flaring out, okay, and you got 1/4 of an inch on the sides. Well, what happens is, like, if you would take, the way I tell people, take a big thing of Jell-O. I'm talking like a 55-gallon drum of Jell-O. Turn that drum upside down and put it right in front of you and let the Jell-O stand there by itself, like it slides out of the drum. Okay, now the concrete would be your painted surface. And then you have this big round drum of Jell-O, and then just take your hand and put your hand in the center and twist your hand in the motion of a dual-action polisher, okay? What you'll notice is when your hand moves, the bottom of the Jell-O don't move until it catches up, the twist.
Right.
So then you have the side edges which aren't being in contact between the backing plate and the pad. So now you got lag. So I said, okay, let's eliminate that lag. Just cut it off. Give me a complete circle. I want that in exact fit pad, you know, and that's what I thought, and so that's what I did. So now what happens is you're getting more rotation out of these pads because you're not getting any lag, and every surface that has compression from the backing plate to the paint, everywhere on that pad is compressed. So now you're using the entire pad properly. And then you got the holes to cool it down. And then we did use a pretty stronger glue. You know, when I designed the pads, I said, listen, let's bump up the glue a little bit and go a little stronger. Lo and behold, now we have foam pads that are doing 30 cars, 40 cars, you know.
Wow.
And it's blowing people's minds, the durability of the pad. So yeah, I got lucky. At the end of the day, it was just a couple of dumb, stupid ideas, but they worked. And now we're selling pads like crazy. And it's kind of funny because what was going to be a compound and polishing company is now more turning towards, as the market demands it from us, more of a pad company that sells a compound and a polish, if that makes sense. And we took it further. I got a lot of things coming. We finally added 2 more pads. We added a yellow pad, and then we added a yellow cutting pad and a red finishing pad, both in 6 and 5 inch. And I think what's going to be the big one, which I've been playing with now for almost a year, I started working on a microfiber pad. And this microfiber pad that I have so far, we've gotten anywhere from 17 was the lowest so far, down up to probably about 24 cars out of.
Wow.
Which is huge. And I'm not, those pads are staying nice. They're not, the foam edges ain't disintegrating, things like that. They're still intact. So that pad's soon going to be released, which, truthfully, I'm really excited for. Can't wait for. But, we came out with a similar microfiber material, but I changed it around a little bit. Like, I looked at the thickness of microfiber, the pile length, the pile nap, how thick it is, how long it is, things like that. I looked at a few different interfaces. I changed a bunch of stuff around, and they should be now into production to the point where in a little bit of time I'm going to have a microfiber pad, which is kind of funny because usually this time of year going into SEMA, most companies are focusing on a compound or a polish or some new coating,
Right.
As to me, I'm having fun with these pads. But for our company, that's what's selling,
Right.
And if they're ready by SEMA, great. If not, no big deal. I could care less.
Right.
I'm not going to make this big hype. Hey, check this out. We got this. It's ready for SEMA. When they're ready, I'm just going to put them up the website and launch them. And pray to God that somebody buys them because we got a lot invested in them.
I'll
at the end of the day. Yeah, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
But
so
awesome.
For me, detailing has been an obstacle. It's been up, it's been down. It's been always has been very good to me. But for a guy like me who has ADHD, I can't. And I think a lot of detailers have ADHD, by the way.
I do too. Yeah.
But for me, I can never stop.
Right.
I'm never content.
Right.
And it boils down to, the new shop Detailosity with presidential details. The problem I was having was doing all this wholesale work and then throwing in a nice high-end job.
Right.
I had to stop the production to slow it down.
Right.
And so what did I do? Screw it. There's only one thing you can do. Get rid of the high-end job, open up another shop. So I did that. So now I'm juggling between another shop, Mannheim, what I call Mannheim and Lebanon, which is presidential, and Detailosity. I'm juggling between both of these shops. Then I'm doing the Americana thing. It's hectic. It's extremely hectic. Sometimes it's stressful, but it's a whole lot of fun. I've met some of the greatest guys in the industry through this,
Yeah.
I really have. From 70 to 2018, there's a lot of great guys out there that I've been blessed to meet that I never would have met if it wasn't for detailing cars.
Yep.
That's true. And it's so true. And, that's why I'm thankful. I really am. There were days where my ego's got in the way and I said some things to upset people, and then there were days where I've helped people. For me, I don't know, it's always a learning experience, I guess you could say. What can I do today to become a better person tomorrow? Yeah. And that's where I'm at today. Today, I really focus on not so much the business aspect of life anymore. I think that'll always be there, For me, it's what can I do to help somebody out? And by doing that, it takes the focus off myself, and I don't think about myself anymore. I'm not as scatterbrained anymore. And I'm just trying to, always do the next right thing to help somebody. Whether I'm standing in line at a grocery store and an old lady needs help, getting her groceries, or you pull into a parking lot and you got two cars going into the same spot and you're that one car. Today I'm trying to sit back and say, do you know what? You take that spot. I'll be the idiot that drives around 10 times till the next one opens up. Then I'll grab that one. It's those little things. Those are the changes that, I'm working on as Barry Theal now. And it's showing through all the other things that I do,
Just like this.
I don't know how to
just like
describe
coming
it.
onto the show and providing, an hour's worth of just phenomenal content when you have probably a million other things, if nothing else, your family that you could be spending time with right now.
Yeah, well, there's always something. And you know what? I gotta say this, Jim. I didn't do any of this myself. The drive and the ambition was by me. But I got this guy, Scott, who's a fantastic manager, who I can trust, and I can say, hey, Scott, do this, and he gets it done. If it wasn't for him, none of this was possible. Sometimes I think he runs presidential better than I do,
Wow.
because I'm the detailer. I don't forget that. I'm the guy that was good at what he did. I was never the businessman. Scott, who, when he came aboard, he worked for a large corporation and had about 100 employees under him.
Okay.
But again, he was the internet detailer. He was the guy that thought he knew what he was doing. And when I told him from day one, I was like, man, you're going to help me, but you're not going to be a detailer.
Right.
I said, I'm going to teach you how to look at a car, how to obviously do some of the things, but you'll never be a great detailer. I said, you're going to learn to run this shop. So I taught him how to run the shop, and then with the talent and the skills that he brought with him, Presidential wouldn't be here in the volume atmosphere without Scott. I can honestly say that, because I would have screwed something up more times than once,
Right.
There are a lot of times where Scott and I are sitting down, and I say, well, what do you think about this? And the reason I'm legitimately asking him is not to say, okay, I want to see how good he is, or I want whatever. I'm legitimately asking because he's better at that scenario than I am,
Right.
truthfully.
Right.
You want your car wet stand to give me a call, man. I'll knock that paint down faster than you think and make it look like it should. But the hardest part for me was I had to learn how to run a business.
Yeah.
That was the hardest part of being a detailer. And it's still hard to this day. I've made a lot of great decisions. I've got all the right people in place beneath me to do these things. But when you look at a CEO of a large company, that guy probably either A, got there because he had the credentials, or B, he worked his ass off and made it up the ladder as people passed off or got fired or terminated or whatever. But successful companies, they don't, how do I say this? All right, I'll say it just, the president of the United States is just a pawn. He's a puppet, And I think what makes a good president is everybody underneath him.
Right.
I think a good president is a guy who can stand up and say, okay, I represent this country, but I represent the people, not myself,
Right.
So when I look at this, it's the same way, a business or a country or whoever. A good leader is a guy who knows how to lead, but yet still step back and say, let's do this. You guys are in control. My faith is in you, not me.
Right.
And I think I'm a strong leader. I'm talented as being a leader, but yet I have also been humbled enough to know that I'm not always right. And a big part of my success has come from that, truthfully. Yeah. I'll be the first to admit it, but at the same time, I do like to toot my own horn occasionally,
Everyone does.
And sit back, relax. Yeah, relax, sit back, like right now I'm talking to you, smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
To me, that cigar is my prize,
Right.
That's my relaxation. It's my, it's everything. But I love cigars. So it's a tough world, Jim. It really is. But I think the whole detailing internet detailer, I think what he needs to do, and I think what all detailers should do, is go to a dealership and work there for 5 months.
Ooh,
they're going to pick up some bad habits. They're going to pick up a lot of good habits. But what it's going to teach them to do is, when you walk into a dealership and they say, hey, you got 4.5 hours to clean this car, and this is how much we're paying you. If it takes you 8, you're only getting paid for 4.
Right.
It makes you more efficient.
Yep.
It makes you a lot more efficient. And then at that point, then you got to learn how to do it properly. That's huge. And then you learn how to do it properly, then you can start experimenting and doing this and that and blah, 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 all the hype that comes along with it.
Sure.
But, again, to me, I really do believe that. I believe every detailer should work in a volume atmosphere.
Yeah.
And because not a lot of the guys I know in this industry who are extremely well respected, most of them come from a volume background. They won't admit it.
Right.
They won't tell you, but they do. They
Interesting.
not all of them, but most of them do. And it's the sad thing is the internet won't allow them to talk about it.
Right. Right.
That's the worst part, because they're afraid they're going to get beat down by some idiot who, thinks he knows what he's talking about. But at the end of the day, you put your time in and you earned it. Get out there and preach it. And that's the way I look at it, I did all of the bullcrap, the grunt work, whatever the case may be. But I don't forget where I came from,
Right.
I honestly, I do not forget where I came from. I'm the first guy when somebody calls off to go out into my shop and help work. I love working the wet bay. I love degreasing cars.
Right.
I absolutely love it. Why? I have no clue, to be honest with you. But, you get wet, you get soaked, when you wash 15 full degreases in, 8 hours. But at the end of the day, it's cool,
Yeah.
Maybe it breaks me from the sanity of everyday life. I don't know. But for some reason, I love it. I love going back out there, and plus it reminds me, hey, you still got it.
Yeah,
you can
that's
still
true
do that.
too.
I may not want to do it every day, but
right.
I still have it.
Keep your finger on the pulse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Barry, I want to be respectful of your time. We've gone just about an hour, so I want you to be able to enjoy the cigar. can't even tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time to come on. If people want to follow you, I know you don't want to, I want to let you toot your horn a little bit. So if people want to follow you, want to find out about you, want to buy pads or buy compounds or buy whatever, how can they do all that?
All right, here's what I'm going to do. I've always said this, and I'm always going to do it, okay?
Let's do it. What are we doing?
People know how to find me. I'm not going to use any names to advertise nothing or brand off your show. But if I could, the few things I tell people in life, whenever I talk to them, I always tell them to shine on as a detailer. But when I say shine on, most people think that means make that paint shine. To me, it doesn't. So when I tell somebody shine on, what I'm telling you is bring out the inner good in yourself, and the world will be a better place.
Love it.
If that makes sense.
It does.
That's all I want to leave you with. I don't want to advertise or shill or market from your show. I'm honored that you called. I'm honored to be a part of it, and I'm thankful for everybody who listened, but that's what I want. I want to tell everybody to shine on and let their inner light come out. That's it. That's all I ask for, Jim.
Today's sponsor of the show is Bluehost. Bluehost offers domains and hosting. If you're looking at buying a domain name or hosting your current domain name, head on over to autodetailingpodcast.com/website. I've worked out a deal with Bluehost for special discounts and offers for Auto Detailing Podcast listeners, and it also helps me out too. Gives me a little bit of kickback for each one of you that sign up through that website, autodetailingpodcast.com/website, where you can get a free domain name with a hosting plan. So head on over to autodetailingpodcast.com/website and pick up that free domain with any hosting package. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Auto Detailing Podcast. Head on over to autodetailingpodcast.com for full show notes and links of everything that we've talked about today. And don't forget to check out our resources page for a direct link to all the products talked about not only on today's episode, but that I use in my day-to-day detail business. They have direct links so you can purchase and get free shipping right from that page. That's autodetailingpodcast.com. We'll see you on the next episode.